we have Mr. Richie Faulkner, guitarist for Judas Priest. I have to say, first and foremost, this is a true honor, and thanks for taking the time to talk to us here today on the G-Spot. How is everything?
Well, the pleasure's all mine, first of all. It's always great to, get out there and talk about all things Priest and metal and all that good stuff. There's always good stories to tell, and it's always good to hear stories from the guys, so it's a pleasure to be here, first of all. Looking forward to it. Everything's great.
I would also like to take the opportunity to say congrats to you and the entire band on the 40-year anniversary.
Well, I wish I could, take that acclaim as well. I mean, I'm not even 40 years old yet, but absolutely. I mean, to be in a band with a 40-year legacy is great fun. It's a great testament to, how great the band is and how great the foresight, the band had back in, the mid-70s, really. And they're still going strong. We're still going strong, forging ahead with brand new heavy metal with Redeemer of Souls. So it's a fantastic position to be in. I
wanted to mention that you just recently joined Judas Priest. And can you tell us how you joined up with Rob and company?
Well, it was... Long story short, it was someone I knew who they knew, indirectly. And I used to play with a guy called Pete Freeson, who used to play with Alice Cooper and Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden solo band. And I used to play with Pete in cover bands back in London. We used to play Priest material, and when the gig came up, a couple of the road crew for Priest knew Pete Freeson and put his name in the hat. They spoke to Pete, and Pete couldn't do it for one reason or another, and he recommended me. So long story short, they gave me a call, and here we are today.
The new CD, which is coming out very soon, Redeemer of Souls, it looks and sounds to be crushing. What was it like being a part of making this CD?
It was an incredible honor. I mean, Greg, right from the beginning, just to be considered to play in Judas Priest is an incredible honor. And then to take the Epitaph tour out into the world, and the next step, which was recording and writing Redeemer of Souls, was just an incredible honor to be a part of that. It was an incredibly creative process. I was brought up on bands like Judas Priest, and I learned how to play guitar and how to write guitar parts and how to fit into a two-guitar band through guys like Priest. So I almost took like a masterclass in how to write Judas Priest records or songs, when I was 15 in my bedroom in front of the mirror with the cricket bat or the tennis racket, So it was an incredibly natural process. I didn't have to put on a different hat or write in a different style. I was brought up on the band, and so it was an incredibly natural and creative process.
Let me get this straight. You're self-taught.
Absolutely, yeah. I used to have like the old vinyl LPs, and I used to literally do it note for note, listening to Hendrix or Sabbath back in the early days, finding the note that was on the record, finding it on the guitar, lifting back the needle to the place where I needed it, that sort of hard process. But I think you train your ears that way, and although it might be a longer process to begin with, I think that once you've trained your ears, you can pick stuff up very quickly as time goes on. So yeah, that's what I did. I just literally heard stuff and tried to recreate it on the instrument.
The self-titled track, Redeemer of Souls, Dragonaut, and March of the Damned are the first three singles released, which are flawless and obliterating. What more can we, the fans, which includes myself, expect from this CD?
Well, it's when you hear the name Judas Priest, immediately songs and, kind of your imagination runs wild. I mean, songs like March of the Damned, Dragonaut, there's dragons, there's the marching, damned. I mean, we kind of draw the parallel, the damned being us and the audience. We might have been frowned on or called the damned as a metal community throughout the years, but we're growing and we're sticking together and we're strong as ever. So there's that kind of sentiment in there as well. But you can, there's dragons, there's aliens, there's, secrets of the pyramids, and, what else is there? Sword of Damocles is a moral story about, walking in someone's shoes. So it's an adventure in heavy metal, and as soon as you hear Judas Priest's name or you look at the artwork with the Redeemer of Souls on the front, questions come to mind, your imagination runs off, and the music is a reflection of that. It's a rip-roaring journey through the band's sound and, character, and it's all summed up in one record. record, which I think is an amazing feat.
Yes, it is. Again, touching upon the 40 years, and I know, as you said, you haven't been in that long, but I'm dating myself now. I can remember first listening to them in 74, 75 and saying, wow. I'm really surprised they didn't take off as much as they did back then, because metal back then was kind of hard, believe it or not. Which leads me to this next question. You, Rob, and Glenn did an interview with Fox 411 recently, and it briefly touched upon the metal fans, the genre and its existence to some extent. I was wondering, even though you've been with Priest for a short period of time, what is your perspective on the elements that generate the popularity of metal? Is it the degree of almost rebellion in the lyrics, the music, or both? And yes, Priest in particular.
I think you're right. I think there's an element of rebellion. There's an element of release or escapism if you're looking for that. And there's also an element of reality. You know, if there's a song that relates to you lyrically, you connect with it. Or if it's a song that takes you into the world of, I don't know, dragons or Vikings or whatever, if you're looking for escape. And also in the live scenario, you know, if whatever problems you've got elsewhere, I think you go to a Priest concert or a metal concert in general, I mean, as a fan of the genre and the band myself, and you kind of leave your troubles behind, and it's a release, you know. You're part of a community, and you're all together, you're all as one, you're standing up for what you believe in, and it's kind of, that to me is what it's all about, that standing for what you believe in as part of the metal community, and, you know, forging forward with what you believe. And I think they've always been like that to me. Again, the band and the genre might have been frowned on back in the early days. They still are. You know, there's still people that look down on metal and say, oh, it's noisy, or it's just people screaming. But to us, we love it, and we're sticking with it, and we're forging forward. And for a band, again, after 40 years to still be doing that is an incredible testament to them. So I salute them. I mean, they're my heroes, you know.
It's more than impressive, and you're right. I started listening to metal, you know, way back when, and I'm metal till I die, man. That's just plain and simple. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, and it's all because of Judas Priest and Iron Maiden. And a lot of people don't realize, too, to throw the big three in there with Anthrax, Slayer, and Pantera, they came out after, and it took them 20, 25 years to really start getting a big following. So what Judas Priest has done is just amazing in its own right. When you play live with Rob, Glenn, Ian, and Scott, what is your routine like before you prepare to walk out on stage with them?
Well, personally, you know, you get the superhero costume on, and you put on the leather and the studs, and, you know, you become, you know, I don't know, you become the superhero, if you know what I mean. You become your alter ego. Go out on stage. I normally go out on stage a bit before the others, just to soak in the vibe, soak in the room, just look out, you know, get a peek at the audience, seeing what the crowd's like and stuff, seeing all those metalheads out there, like an ocean of metalheads, you know. And then the lights will go down, the roar of the crowd comes up, and we all walk. We usually have like a big curtain in front of the stage, you know, which drops as the opening songs kick in. So we all walk out on stage behind the curtain drops, and again the roar of the crowd just goes up, and you're away, you know. It's like a horse race when the stall comes up, you know, and the horses are out of the paddock, and you're off, and it's just, I mean, sometimes you might be out on tour and, you know, it's a bit grueling, you might be a bit tired, you've been flying a lot or travelling a lot, you might be, you know, worn out that day. As soon as that curtain goes down, you forget about it all, you know what I mean? You're kind of back in the room with the Judas Priest community, with the metal community, and all the tiredness and all the fatigue goes away. So it's an incredibly re-energizing experience, and one that, you know, it's addicting, and I'll never get enough of.
No, hey man, and you know what? You're living the dream. You're playing with your idols that you grew up listening to, and that is got to be like totally mind-blowing.
It really is, man. I mean, sometimes you're focused on, you know, what you're doing. You're playing your instrument. That's what you're doing on stage, and you're kind of focused on that and the crowd. But every now and then, there's moments in the set where you can sit back a little bit and look around, and they're the moments where you think, holy hell, you know, there's Halford over there, and there's Tipton over there, and look at there's 20,000 people out there. That's when it really hits home. And then a couple of minutes later on, you're back into the metal, and you've not forgotten about it, but you're, you know, focused again on different things. So there are those moments when you sit back and you pinch yourself and you think, this is real, you know. And it still happens today, even when we're sitting in the studio and Rob's coming up with a lyric idea for a riff that I might have had in my bedroom, you know, 8 months prior. And you're still thinking, is this really happening, you know? So I don't think that experience that feeling will ever go away either, and well, I hope it doesn't.
Well, no, and I get the same feeling doing this, so it's kind of the same thing. It's so cool to be able to talk to artists in this genre and pick their brain, so to speak. Speaking of playing live, the North American tour was just announced. How excited are you and the band to be hitting the States with this new CD?
We can't wait. I mean, Greg, when we were in the studio, and you go in the studio with a riff, and at the end of the day, you've got March of the Damned. You sit back and you listen to it. I mean, it might be in its primitive form, if you know what I mean, but the song, the nucleus of the song is there, and you just straight away, the first thought is, we can't wait to get out and play songs like March of the Damned before the legions of metalheads, because we know, our hairs are going to be standing up on end with the new songs. The crowd's going to have their arms in the air. We're all going to be singing and have that community going with these new songs. So we can't wait. I mean, the last tour, we said it was a farewell tour. If I'm doing my job correctly, it looks like I've kept them going for another tour, you know what I mean? So if I can just keep doing that, keep them going, maybe we'll do a farewell tour for 10 years like the Eagles. I don't know. It's just exciting. It reinvigorates you. You're just thinking, Dragonaut, where are we going to put that in the set? Or Halls of Valhalla, where are we going to play that? And you just can't wait to get it in front of the metal legions and start singing along with them, So we're very excited to get out there.
Speaking of how you go into the studio, is the routine any different with the twin guitars in the studio compared to playing live?
Not really. I mean, obviously coming into the band with the songs that were already written, 20, 30, 40 years prior, I knew my part already. When you're creating songs that might be around for 20, 30, 40 years, hopefully in the future, obviously you're creating them, so you've bouncing ideas off what fits here, what fits there, or someone gets a flash of inspiration while someone else is creating something. So I might have a guitar line or a guitar intro, and Glenn walks in the room and says, keep playing that. I've just got an idea in my head that will go with that, guitar-wise. So again, it happens very organically and very naturally because we're both from the same school, I got schooled on them. He got schooled on people like Rory Gallagher and Jimi Hendrix, which I'm a huge fan of as well. So it all makes sense. The only difference would be we're creating stuff rather than, I'm playing things that have already been on tape for 30, 40 years. But it gives you a sense of freedom. If this works, let's try that. Let's, rather than this is how it has to be, let's see what we can do with this. Let's see how creative we can be. And that's an incredibly creative and inspiring feeling to be a part of.
And I have to ask, and you've probably been asked 1,000 times, what are all the members like on a personal level?
Oh, man, they're fantastic. I mean, we went through the Epitaph Tour, which went through 2011, 2012, and you build up relationships with the guys, you gain trust, you listen to each other's opinions, so you get a feel of what people are like very quickly because it's very condensed. You're living together almost for the best part of 2 years. And they're just down-to-earth guys. It's a family. It's a real band, Ever since I joined, it was always, what do you think? As the new guy coming in, you might have different ideas or, you know what I mean? You might just have fresh ideas, and it wasn't a dictatorship. It wasn't kind of, there's two people that decide everything and that's it. It's, what do you think? From, stage clothes. Have you got any idea for the design of the stage clothes or the set list, or what should we take out? What should we change? The stage production, the live set, and into the studio, what have you got? And it's been very inclusive, like a proper band, like a band of brothers. Obviously we have a writing team, or they've had a writing team, which was the two guitar players and the vocalist, and they stuck to that scenario. But obviously everyone's input is wanted and listened to, and because of that experience in the Epitaph Tour, you know that if you've got an opinion, it's going to be listened to, it's going to be taken seriously, and if someone tells you they think something could be better or that's great, you can trust them as well, So again, the Epitaph Tour helped, and they've just been great from day one with the whole inclusion, whole family atmosphere of what I think a real band should be.
You make some great points in that comment, and you're absolutely right, because today in this industry, it's not too many bands really stay together, and as you put it, they don't put the reins on you. They don't tell you to hold up, oh no, we're going to do it. They want your input, and that's great because that allows your musical talent and ability to flourish with them.
That can benefit whatever line of, whatever industry you're in, whether you're, in accounts or you're in the creative industries or whatever it is. I think the group can always benefit the whole. There's always someone who's got an opinion that thinks it's better, and it might be. And I think as soon as you kind of cut people's creativity off, it won't benefit the group as a whole. And I think it's an amazing foresight on their part, I think, and a great model for anyone else who's got any sort of group business, if you want to call it. I don't like that word, but you know what I mean? I think anyone's opinion together is only going to benefit the whole as a product. Again, bad word, but you know what I'm trying to say.
No, totally, and I have to undoubtedly agree with you on that. Who are some of your musical inspirations?
Right from the very beginning, I was a huge Hendrix fan. I was introduced to Jimi Hendrix by my father. I must have been, 7 or 8 or something like that. So most kids were listening to Michael Jackson and Kylie Minogue, and I do admit I listened to a bit of it because, I was a kid, but there was this other part of me that was interested in Jimi Hendrix and Sabbath. Then I got into bands like UFO, Thin Lizzy. So Michael Schenker from UFO was and still is a huge influence and inspiration. Thin Lizzy, the double guitar harmony parts and stuff like that was, again, there from an early age. And then bands like Priest and Maiden, Metallica, Pantera, and, from there you build your kind of tapestry of makeup. But the bands I've mentioned are definitely influences and inspirations. Queen was another one. Fantastic, obviously, Freddie and Brian. All the guys, fantastic songs. But from a guitar point of view, Hendrix was the one that started it off. And he's the one that I always go back to. I might not play in the same style as Hendrix. I'm in a heavy metal band, but he's the one you kind of go back to kind of retouch on that kind of philosophy, why you started doing it in the beginning, and it kind of gets you back on track. Again, not from a metal point of view, but just doing what comes true to you. And sometimes it might not sound what you want it to sound like, but if it's coming up and it's natural, like Hendrix was, then give it a go.
Imagine if he was alive today, imagine all the stuff we could have been listening to from him.
Oh, man.
It's just, it's sad that he left us so early, but, what can you do? I'm sitting here and reflecting back on the career of Judas Priest, and from when I started listening to them in 74, when they first hit the metal scene, hearing Rob in that interview that I mentioned earlier, taking their final bow, from your perspective as a member of the band and a fan, how does it make you feel hearing that? I know it kind of makes me feel empty inside knowing that this could be the last tour, because Priest has been such a major part of my life.
Yeah, I do. I remember when I joined the band that it was made very clear that, we can't guarantee 10, 20 years, of the band. This could be the final tour. And people used to ask me, isn't that a bit of a bad time to come into a band? And it's like, well, what am I going to do? Turn it down? I'm not going to say, oh, no thanks, you can't guarantee me 10 years in Judas Priest. I thought it was a great time to come into the band, and we seem to have been energized some way. Or the rest of the guys have. It's hard for me to speak about what the dynamic was before, but from what I've heard from the band and everyone else, they've kind of been revigorated energy-wise, and, we've done another album, which we're all now fired up about, which in turn fires us up for another tour. So the farewell tour, although I think we will be pulling back in intensity, we won't maybe, the scheduling won't be as intense. We won't maybe go to as many countries or places around the world. But, pulling back, as you said, they've been going now for 40 years. It's a bit different from a 30-year-old to a 60-year-old, you know what I mean? If we pull back a bit, we can guarantee quality, we can, so we don't know how long it's going to go on for the Redeemer of Souls tour. We don't know exactly where we're going to go and for, how long the stints are going to be. But as I said before, we are going out, we are re-energized with these new songs. And, so I don't know exactly why that's happened, but I don't really care, to be honest with you. If Priest is still going and I'm a part of it,
that's all that matters. And I got to tell you, on a brief note, that yes, I've noticed a definite refreshing of Priest with this new CD, and with you coming in. You can just tell as a fan. You know what I'm saying? So. Yeah. Last question, I'll let you go, man. Other than promoting Redeemer of Souls in the upcoming North American tour, are there any other surprises left from Priest in 2014?
We're always working on bits and pieces and how we can make things more interesting for fans and exclusives and bonuses and stuff like that. So, I can't say anything at the moment, but there's always stuff in the pipeline. So, keep visiting JudasPriest.com. The album's out in the US, I think, next Tuesday, which is a week yesterday. There's a bonus edition with 5 bonus tracks, so that's a surprise in itself. I don't think anyone's heard any of those yet. And, you know, the surprises are going to be, you know, where we're going to go. Everyone's waiting for us to announce more of the tour. You know, people are saying, are you going to come to Mexico or Japan? Are you going to come here? So everyone's waiting with bated breath. So they're I think, where the main surprises are going to be, and we can't wait to announce it all. So just keep visiting the website and keep your eyes and ears open.
I'm definitely going to try to check out a couple of your shows. Definitely one of them when you come up this way in New England, here in North America, Massachusetts.
Fantastic.
I want to take the time right now to thank you for giving us a call here on the G-Spot and giving us your valuable time, and I'd like to thank the band as well, and I wish you the best. I wish you the best with this tour, and I wish you the best with Priest and Redeemer of Souls, man.
Thanks very much, Greg. It's been a pleasure speaking to you.
The pleasure's all mine, man. Have a good one.
You too, mate. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Richie Faulkner, guitarist for the band Judas Priest. I got to take care of some things, so we're actually going to play a track off of Redeemer of Souls. This is March of the Damned, Judas Priest, right here on WSUR.